Destroyer is known as the Unga Bunga class within my friends group, so as a fan of Warrior, the Unga Bunga class of Final Fantasy, I had to give this one a try. Warrior has a big axe, Destroyer has a big hammer. You can see why I'd be interested. Now, the Unga Bunga is mostly referring to the hypergravity mode, also known as the bonk mode. During this, you get a big shield, push immunity, and you can only use your auto attacks. And as long as you can keep auto attacking, you will get a ramping attack speed. So it's very Unga Bunga. You're super tanky and you just bonk away at whatever is in front of you. But of course, that's not the only way to play Destroyer. As with all classes, there are two class engravings. Gravity Training focuses on generating a lot of identity gauge to then go into bonk mode as often as possible. And then there's Rage Hammer, which focuses on the basic gameplay of Destroyer, which is generating 3 cores with your blue skills and then spending those cores on purple skills to deal most of your damage. The more cores you have when using a purple skill, the more damage you deal. And the engraving will support those skills by giving bonus crit rate and crit damage. Currently, these two engravings have a fairly similar playstyle, outside of the fact that you can use bonk mode a bit more often with Gravity Training, but since yesterday's balance patch on Korea, Gravity Training now has a very different playstyle, as you now have more options to choose from, and you can also go into hypergravity mode within one skill cycle. Currently, it takes a little longer than that to get there. So Gravity Training is the easy Unga Bunga playstyle of Destroyer, whereas Rage Hammer is more difficult to play as you're not always protected by a big shield and you don't have push immunity as often. However, even with Rage Hammer, Destroyer is still a fairly tanky class, and it needs to be, as it lacks a lot of mobility tools that most other classes in the game have. Destroyer is a very slow class, and while you do have some sort of gap closers, you have nothing to disengage from the boss other than your dodge or your spacebar, whatever you prefer to call it. So, to make up for this lack of mobility, you have a lot of tank options. I'm not talking blue gun lancer level of tankiness, but still a few good options. All of your purple skills have built-in paralysis immunity that you can upgrade to push immunity with tripods. Although if you were to do that, then you're going to be sacrificing damage most of the time. However, you don't need push immunity all of the time, so the one purple skill that can take it without sacrificing damage usually is going to be enough. Outside of that, all of your purple skills will also grant you a shield whenever you use them. The more cores that are charged, the bigger the shield will be, and since you want to have 3 cores anyways when you're using a purple skill, you should always have a fairly big shield protecting you when you're charging up those longer animation skills. So as long as the boss's attack doesn't knock you off your feet, then you can tank through most things. If you do need some extra defense, then you can use hypergravity mode if you have that charged, and otherwise there is still Endure Pain. This is hands down the best skill that Destroyer has access to, as it's super flexible in how you want to use it. So there's 3 things that are great about it. First of all, is the only blue skill that can charge 3 cores at once. All the other blue skills charge only 1 or 2 cores. Secondly, it grants 5 seconds of push immunity, so you can use it to set up for those longer skill animations such as Perfect Swing for example. And lastly, it also grants you 5 seconds of 90% damage reduction, which allows you to survive a lot of things that you normally wouldn't be able to. Just to give an example, when doing Vicus normal mode, in Gate 1 you have the 4 colored gates mechanic, that if you were to fail that one, you need to use a time stop to live through the mechanic. Now the damage doesn't one-shot you, so you can use Endure Pain there and not use a time stop. That's pretty amazing. And I'm pretty sure that there are other mechanics in the game that would normally kill you that you can also use Endure Pain for, but I haven't tested them all. And this is where my satisfaction of Destroyer comes in. As you get more knowledgeable on the fights, you can start dealing a whole lot more damage as you know what you can tank through. You also learn the boss's patterns so that you can position yourself correctly for those longer animation skills, and you'll also learn where to best use your push immunity skills so that you can maximize your damage uptime. I don't know, it just feels really good standing where you're not supposed to, as it makes you feel like a real tank. And I guess that's actually one thing I forgot to mention about Endure Pain, but it's also a taunt, so there's actually 4 good things about it. Doesn't work on all of the bosses in the game, but for those where it does work, it feels really good being able to interrupt annoying patterns or being able to save a teammate by grabbing the boss's attention. So Destroyer really has a lot of good things going for itself. It's tanky. When played right, you can have very high damage uptime by just tanking through mechanics. It can taunt to interrupt annoying attack patterns. It has a very respectable damage output, has the best stagger in the game, and also has very good weak point. you might not have the fastest weak point application, but a lot of your skills do have it. So when you have a longer destruction check, like for example Descaluda wings or the turtle shell from Kundalinium, then Destroyer is amazing for that. So it's a very fun, very satisfying class to play once you learn your way around certain attack patterns, and it also has a great meme factor, with bonk mode being a thing. And I mean, just look at my amazing outfit. You wouldn't say that this cute looking Mokoko is a big ball of rage just ready to smash the ever-living shit out of a boss. You just can't really go wrong with it. I don't think that I would ever play Destroyer as my main, but it's certainly keeping a spot in my main roster of 6 that I want to play on a weekly basis, because it's just so much fun. And I think that's everything that I wanted to say, so let me know if you've played Destroyer before and how you're liking it, if you're playing Rage Hammer, or did you go for Gravity Training, or are you planning to switch to Gravity Training when the balance patch comes to the west, or have you not tried Destroyer yet and this video was able to pique your interest? Let me know down below. And with that, I want to thank you for watching, I want to thank my Patreons for their support, and I'll see you in the next one.